PPCC. This is Mr. Egger, and we're about to go into. We're about to take a look at the '80s to today and address another point of view of using guns, which literally took the prison system and just turned it into a industrial machine. I'm talking about the concept of what has happened to the prison system from guns has like it's mind blowing. So give you a foundation of what we're talking about. The 1980s come in. When the 80s come in, I remember being a young man around 7, 8, and we didn't see a lot of abandoned houses. They just really did, especially in the 70s. You didn't see them that much. Then all of a sudden comes the 80s, the late 80s. By the 89, you begin to see abandoned houses just just stay. Before house burned down, they will redo it because it's money. Somebody, just the family need to be in a house. It's just common sense. Redo the house, put someone in it, make some money, or the family themselves own the house, redo the house, and live out of it, whatever. But by the time 85, 87, 88 comes in, things begin to go to a shift. You go through this paradigm shift where the neighborhoods and the community begins to go through this stage of death, doom, and gloom. And properties start being abandoned and burnt down. Stores start closing. Beauty supplies change hands. The blacks own them now. The Koreans are taking them over. Um, Cleaners are kind of still okay, but they're slowly beginning to kind of change hands as well. The schools begin to have this thing called drug-free zones in them, and they begin to get metal detectors. I remember being in school and the police officer came. I was in middle school and came and explained to us, we're children, but we're not about to be treated like children anymore. And me having a father who just got clean off of drugs, me growing up in a drug family, I kind of already knew what he was talking about because you begin to see the mentality of the community begin to change. And this is where this war on drugs comes in at. So you got the police going to the public schools and explaining that, yeah, you 13, you 14, but we not gonna treat y'all like that anymore because you begin to have shootings. You had the shooting over here off of Linwood in the early, I want to say 90s. No, um, yeah, early 90s or whatever, in the church or whatever. And that killing took the war on drugs to another level. This is when they do the metal detectors because they starting to shoot each other at the schools over the nanny goats, the patent leather shoes, the different gang wars or whatever. This began to change everything to the point where when it comes to the 1980s, CCW and drug sales took the prison system to 130%. You have other things pushing it, but the main thing a lot of people are going to jail for during this time is drug selling and handguns, which automatically, for some reason, when we get the handgun, we automatically hide it. Why? I don't know, because the person ain't got a felony yet or anything, and there's something called open carry, but in our mind, you hide it. And between the hiding a gun and the drugs is trying to run a criminal organization, trying to sell drugs with a gun turns it automatically into a business. And now you got 2 years for the gun and whatever else they give you for the drugs. And then they might even throw some more laws in there that can stick to you as well. But for sure, you're going to get carry concealed weapon with intent to deliver, which is going to give you automatically like probably 5 years, two for the gun, another 2 years for the drugs or whatever, and then they can even go into if the gun has bullets in it, and you can just get a whole range of charges. So this comes from the war on drugs, and in the 1980s, you got CCW drug sales take the system and push it up to 130%. This is coming from the war on drugs. By 1990, it's like 200%. When 1990s comes in, like I was saying, oh, this the 80s and 90s is the crack era. So between the crack and the guns and the two coming together, the prison system just skyrockets. I'm talking about it takes off to a tent where it takes the neighborhood, and it was common to hear that the men in one or two of the men in the house were in jail. I'm talking about it was just normal that young boys or young men were going to jail. It was not, it was just second nature. So come in to bring it all the way up to 2025. Now you back then you had the war on drugs. Now going to 2025, you have this war on fentanyl, which basically they're looking for fentanyl, but 9 times out of 10, any other drugs they catch and you got a gun, it's going to affect that as well. So if you selling, you can be selling weed and have a gun. They're gonna try and make that stick, especially if you ain't got the permit and certain things to go with it. They probably still gonna try to make it stick because on the federal level, it's not legal. So you have a gun, you got your marijuana, and if you ain't got no weed card and all this other stuff, they're gonna try to make it stick. Then say you drinking the lean, you got the lean, and you got a gun. They're going to try. They're going to charge you as intent to run a business. So when it comes to guns and drug selling, it takes the prison system and just skyrockets everything to the point where when it comes to the prisons in America, North America, you have more people in prison in America than you have in all the prisons combined in the world. That's crazy. I'm gonna say it again. From just this little bit right here, the guns and the drugs and putting the two together, and a person trying to sell a gun, sell drugs with a gun, and more likely we're going to hide the gun, you automatically have more people in prison in this one country than all the prisons in the world, and it's coming from the war on drugs. So now we have the war on fentanyl, which is going to keep everything in place. So I'm gonna say this again for you. Do your research. You have more people in prison in this one country than all the prisons combined in the world. That's beyond crazy.